Chapter 101 Smooth Plan. Translator Shu. Editor Clown. Founding Demon Capital Arc. Chapter 101 Smooth Plan. We went to the last floor where Veldora will live and arrange the interior. I take out all of the furniture out from my stomach and set them in room cordoned off by blocks. Atmosphere is really important, so I can't let the public see it. I copied and prepared some items that Veldora likes, and after we finished decorating the room, we proceeded to the center of the 100th floor and had Veldora release his aura. Veldora released his aura carefully and managed to do so without an accident. The inner walls of the room were created out of ore. It's going to turn into demonic steel soon after getting bathed with magic power after all, so it's a simple mud wall. This way, we can save a bit on costs. By the way, the first floor of this dungeon is a square room, 250 meters wide. It's the same size as for Tokyo domes. But as you continued further down, the size got smaller. The dungeon was created this way so the aura could spread well. Veldora's room is 100 meters squared wide. It seems quite big, but if Vildora gets into his real form, it's actually quite small. It was created so it can be expanded if it's ever inconvenient. The dungeon is under Ramirez's control so it can be customized freely to some degree. The aura is sleeping up to each floor as planned. Since there's no wall to block the way, it fills the room without disturbance. All we have to do now is to wait until the monster spawned. After Veldora turned back into his human form, we moved on to the next step. First, about traps. Poisoned arrow. ... Arrow smeared with poison come flying out of nowhere. Poison swamp. ... Swamp that is really poisonous. If you fall into one, you'll get poison damage and abnormal status. Turning tile or mat. ... Driving your sense of direction mad. Feel the importance of mapping. Moving tile or mat. A floor that moves all by its own. Really scary. Cutting thread. Pass by it without realizing your head comes off. Combined with moving floor for brutal results. Pitfall. Rather than the damage dealt by falling down, what's awaiting you when you fail is scarier. False treasure box mimic. Great. A treasure box? Too bad. It's me. Laughing treasure box. Great. A treasure box. Die laughing. Monster room. Hi there. Finally a feast. Ceiling room. Turn a fire and ... Darkness floor. It's common sense to bring a torch, you know. If you don't have one, we could sell one for a high price. How about it? Low ceiling floor. I don't want to meet monster while crawling. Terrain effect floor. What the hell is this? Why there's a volcano in a dungeon? I listed all of the trap I could think of. Almost all of them are possible. It's just the Terran effect floor is too difficult. Well, volcano is impossible as expected. I was imagining having blazing floor, freezing floor, or blizzard floor that makes traps from natural disasters, but impossible. I don't have the energy to maintain something like that. As expected, it's impossible. Well, I might have asked for something really absurd. And when I was going to give up on that plan, do you want me to tame a fire dragon or ice dragon from somewhere? I hear the voice of someone that shouldn't be there. As I turn around, I could see silver-haired twin-tail. Why are you here, Millie? 100 floors underground in the other world. In the last floor of the newly built dungeon, the beautiful young demon lord is smiling with a complacent smile. Buffoon, somehow I feel that you're doing something fun. To think you were courageous enough to exclude me, she said while getting arrogant and arching her back to emphasize her pitiful chest. As usual, she's dressed all in black with dragon knuckles that are emitting a dim light and hardly fit on her hands. Still, as expected, she's really sensitive to this kind of, of conspiracy. No doubt it's impossible to hide things from Milim. In the first place, it's impossible to reason with Milim. Just because she appeared here, there's no need to be surprised. Milim and Vildora glared at each other, but afterwards, shaked hands and seemed friendly. If the two of them fight with each other, it will be a serious matter. Thank goodness they have become friends. Sorry about that. I had no intention to leave you behind. I was going to invite you after it was done. Really? But it's more fun to participate from the get-go when doing something like this. Well, that might be true. By the way, is your country all right? She's also a demon lord. Moreover, after merging her territory with the former demon lords Frey and Carrion's territory, it should have gotten rather big. Is it okay for her to play and walk around like me? Me? I'm good. Everyone is really excellent. So it's better that I don't disturb them. Upon hearing my question, she averted her gaze. Well, it's fine. See, I'm really excellent after all. By no means have I come here by running away because I hate studying. I see. Frey or the other examined and summarized the country's state of affair and tried to teach it to Miling. She hated it and ran away to this place. That's probably the real situation. No way. I'm going to join no matter what. Before I say anything, she refused. As expected, her intuition is sharp as usual. Well, whatever. I'm not the one that's going to get scolded anyway. Rather than that, all right, I'm not the one that's going to get yelled at, so let's put that matter aside. What you said before, taming a dragon, is that possible? Oh, I really will get scolded. No, but it can't be helped. There's bound to be more danger when you venture out. It's possible to tame a dragon if you want. Should I tame one for you? Oh, can I rely on you? In that case, what species are there? Milim fears getting scolded, just like a kid that skipped her homework to go play. Well, it can't be helped. It's the path she took. After overcoming her worried expression, Milim's mood changed easily as she teach us about dragons. Seems like Vildora had no interest in it at all. Ramirez is saying something like, "What are you doing coming to this place?" just to get glared at by Milim and caught. From Milim's explanation, there are four types of dragons: fire dragon, ice dragon, wind dragon, and earth dragon. There are some that gained special evolution or unique, but these are the only four types. As expected, it's impossible to tame a dragon lord, but as long as not a lord, it's possible to tame an adult one. With this, having an effect similar to Terran effect is possible, and so we'll have the dragons live on the lower floors. I don't really know just how strong a dragon is, but practically every dragon is at least an A rank. It's the level that could be defeated by 6 holy knights. An elemental dragon is bound to increase the difficulty. Thus, while being carefree, of course, I arranged the dragon floors in order of strength: fire, ice, wind, earth. Or so it would be if the dragon is young. The order might get changed. It's an old one if it's an old one. That is, the dragon that is able to exercise all of its power will arise victorious. If it's the order from strength only, and it became like that. And so, 99th floor is flame hell floor, being covered in high temperature flame. The last gateway, heat resistant equipment is needed. The one that waiting before it is. 98th floor is ice hell floor. If you stop, you die. Can you endure it with cold resistant equipment? 97th floor is lightning floor. Lighting floor. The thread of lightning falling down from the sky. Lightning falling down from the sky. Whether you can break through this floor or not depend on your luck. 96th floor is tremor floor. As to ridicule the one that managed to come this far, a fiendish earthquake will befall you. Feel the wrath of the dragon. And so the super hard Terran floors have been created. The dragons could use the aura that Vildora released as food, so they could live here with no problem. There's no need to tamper with these floors. Just let the dragons that Milam tamed make a nest here and it will be fine. Next, create a safe zone every 10 floors. Well, there's a boss room before each, so they could only access it after they defeated the boss. There, they would be able to purchase magic stones, sell drops, and buy potions at very high prices. Building a tavern or a restaurant might be a good idea, but wouldn't they just exit the dungeon if they wanted a break? Well, I'll decide on that as things go. The first floor difficulties is for testing only, so any beginner could finish it. The roads are wide, so getting lost is unlikely. Nevertheless, 250 meters in width is considerable. It's going to be a floor that makes you walk a lot without any result or income. From then on, starting with the second floor, it's not that easy. It's time for the traps. Even though I say it won't be easy, in reality, there isn't a single brutal trap up until the 10th floor, so I'm sure they'll proceed without any major difficulties. Immediately, facing a death trap would dissuade people from continuing, so it's out of the question. In this manner, while arguing about this and that, the four of us proceeded to arrange every floor, and thus after 3 days, we are almost done fine-tuning it. We nod to each other with smiles on our faces, leaving the dungeon with a feeling of accomplishment. Needless to say, the dungeon is filled with monsters by the next time we went there. Milim went out to tame the dragons. I don't particularly mind the monsters getting destroyed, but that's a no-no for the dragons. We assigned all the tamed dragons as Ramirez subordinates. Get this, inside Ramirez dungeon creation, her subordinates are immortal. If Ramirez got killed, she'll disappear, but the subordinates could respawn at the recorded spot. This is the reason why she wanted Beretta so much. Even if Ramirez doesn't have any power inside the dungeon, Ramirez troops are undefeatable. For Ramirez, who doesn't have any subordinates, it's just a meaningless invincible skill. Beretta himself serves as T without any complaint, busily fulfills a maid's function. Since it seems that Beretta consents, working for Ramirez might not be so bad. With this, I finally gained real subordinates. Said Ramirez, clearly emotional. She might be really lonely, so while looking at Beretta, "Oy, Beretta, do you want to be Ramirez's permanent servant?" I asked Beretta. "I've been thinking of this for a while. If Beretta wants it, I'll let him change its loyalty. If Beretta didn't want to, I'll prepare a new subordinate for Ramirez." Beretta answered, "Is it all right? Then I'll swear my allegiance to Ramirez-sama as her servant," he said without any hesitation. "Isn't it good, Ramirez? You're unexpectedly loved." I nodded. "Fine. Well then, Beretta, from now on you shall work under Ramirez," I declared, lifting the master lock and transferring it to Ramirez, who's of course clearly dumbfounded by what has just occurred. "Hey, thank you very much for everything up until now. I won't forget the favor of letting me be born into this world. Don't worry about me. From now on, work hard and protect Ramirez. Aye, even at the cost of my life. Let's believe him, if it's Beretta. I don't have to worry." The transfer concluded without any problem. From now on, I'll only be the submaster. As long as nothing happens to Ramirez, Beretta will only listen to Ramirez's command. Ramirez, who finally managed to understand the situation, pranced around in delight. She might be really delighted, but it's fine. Controlling the dragons inside the dungeon all by herself might be too difficult. So if Beretta is there when she needs him, there will be no problem. It also seems like Beretta doesn't want to hand over the position as the first servant since Beretta has been serving her for a while. Valdora and I start to get fed up while looking at the prancing Ramirez. Being a formal master-servant relationship, Beretta became an immortal inside this dungeon. Servant can only revive at a previously set location, but there are no revival limits. With a sufficient number of troops, Ramirez's ability is terrifying, and it's because she's the owner that this ability has yet to see the light of day. I'm not going to tell her, but depending on its use, it could easily sway any battle. Even now, having Beretta with unlimited rebirths is too overpowered. Now we're also adding Malin's dragons. There's a chance that this kid will soon have an unbelievable potent power in her hands, but it's Ramirez after all. There won't be any problem. This lovable fairy is just a small lonely kid. The revival item called Bracelet of Revival is also recognized by Ramirez, so anyone who wears it will not die. But it will have no effect outside this dungeon. If this thing isn't explained completely, there's a possibilities of misunderstandings. And then while confirming various things, the dungeon is getting shaped steadily. What's this airtight room for? Is this also a trap? To that question, if you suddenly enter into a room without air, you'll fall from not being able to breathe. At worst, die. You have to be careful in front of any room. This is an ironclad rule. Examine the poison inside the room. Measure the concentration of air. If you can't do at least this much, you won't be able to last long. At worst, you have to use wind magic for ventilation. I answered. Seems like she didn't understand. Well, I know that this is an atrocious trap. I've been thinking this for a while, but you're a terrifying guy, but reliable. I wouldn't have been able to think of this kind of trap all by myself, Ramirez said while looking at the traps with admiration. So that's what she thinks of me. Well, I lacked gains in my previous world, so it's a trap that I've gotten used to. If you tell me to clear it in real life, though, I beg to differ. There's almost no one unaffected by poison and having no need to breathe like us. I think it's going to be a brutal dungeon. The completed masterpiece can hardly be described with only brutal. Well, if you add monster to those kinds of vicious traps, of course it's going to be fiendish. I feel like I heard a voice, but it's probably just my imagination. However, I bet I'll hear it again soon enough. After finishing the creation of the dungeon, I returned to the city. Valdora and Ramirez will probably happily finish the rest by themselves. They were very interested in watching me set up the traps. They also asked to allow them to set up one, but I refused, primarily due to wanting to avoid a sick joke before the 10th floor. Otherwise, the customer adventurers will have their hearts or minds broken and will be unable to proceed. However, I did decide to leave the rest to them on the condition that the floor must be passable. 95th and 94th floor will probably end up being nonsensical floors, but it's okay. 91st to 93rd floors are untouched. Millie might want to do one, so we'll set it up later. And so I'll leave the rest to them. It's good to see them enjoy themselves this much. By the time I got back to the city, Muir Miles had arrived. He must have prepared himself with a great haste. His arrival is way faster than what I had planned. I led him to the mansion I've prepared beforehand and leave the rest to Rigordo. I say my thanks to Muir Miles and briefed him on the new happenings. I explained the location of the arena and the plans for building a tavern town there. I also told him about the plan to attract adventurer with the newly built dungeon. Rigurdo and Murmiles were shocked to hear that, and it turned into quite a discussion. Rigurdo wanted to discuss the type of people who will come here from now on. Murmiles discussed the opening of the arena and the dungeon. After listening to their opinions, we proceeded to discuss the necessary resources. They quickly became good friends. I told Rigordo to treat Murmiles as the official leader of the business division. I also told him that Murmiles will get a second post as the leader of publicizing. Rigurdo nodded and contacted the individuals that would benefit said divisions. Thus, preparation continued. Murmiles was accepted as the resident of Tempest easily. I only introduced him and let the other introduce themselves. The flow was so smooth it left me surprised. Anyways, after seeing Murmiles' work ethic, they can't have any complaints left. Murmiles evinced that he's able to grasp the abilities of the subordinates that were assigned to him, and including his entourage, he assigned jobs to each member individually. Seeing a hierarchy completed in a blink of an eye is rather refreshing. Miles is really lively for being responsible for 2 divisions. Now, as for the invitations to various leaders and figureheads, excluding the person I personally know, we send the invitation under Miles' name, influential nobles and wealthy merchant of each town. His progress is so quick that you'd think he had been doing this his whole life. We also drafted a procedure and costs for the upcoming events, not just the planning and management, but things are producing smoothly on all fronts. Looks like I chose the right person. Perhaps out of all the ideas I've thus implemented, choosing Murmals was the best. If he were not here, the possibility of things going awry is high. With just our power, we couldn't have performed this well. I'm really fortunate to be able to meet good people. Murmals also feel charmed by the food, environment, and comfort of this town. Impossible. This is impossible. It's even more comfortable compared to the royal capital, he kept saying until it's basically became his catchphrase. I'm glad that he likes it. Then again, Murimel's reaction is the primary evidence that everything will be fine, and Muriel himself knows it. Rimuru-sama, there's no way this plan is going to fail. With everything as it is, anyone could make it succeed, Muriel said, filled with excitement. I think anyone is a bit too much, but I'm happy to hear him say that. And as the preparations progress, unfamiliar people start coming to the town. I feel a heated season approaching, and it is nigh upon us. End of chapter 101.